Millions of Americans are going to the polls all across the country. This is finally Election Day, 1984.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, reporting tonight from ABC News Election Headquarters.
Good evening. The polls are still open in many parts of the country. Votes are already being counted in some others. And in 3 states where the polls now have closed, ABC News has the following projections. We project that Mr. Reagan has won in the state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire has 4 electoral votes. ABC News also projects that Mr. Reagan is the winner in Kentucky. Kentucky has 9 electoral votes. And in Indiana, where the polls have also closed, ABC News projects Mr. Reagan the winner. That is 12 more electoral votes in Mr. Reagan's column. At this early stage of the game, then, President Reagan already has 25 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Now, our final pre-election ABC News Washington Post poll showed the president running 14 points ahead of Mr. Mondale. Already he has 3 states in the bank. Let's take a quick look at the popular vote. With only 1% of the precincts reporting in the country, Mr. Reagan has 64% of the vote, and Mr. Mondale is getting 36% of the vote. Now, there is much more tonight than the presidential race. Voters are reshaping much of the country's leadership, from Congress to the governorships, local judges, state representatives. There are also a lot of critical propositions on state ballots which voters are deciding on. As we have seen, both the president and Mr. Mondale cast their votes today. We have 2 reports. Sam Donaldson is with the president.
President and Mrs. Reagan voted in the little town of Solvang in Santa Barbara County. Originally settled by Danish immigrants, Solvang is located just a few miles from the Reagans' mountaintop range. The president brought with him his absentee ballot, which he had already marked when he thought he might spend a day in Washington. So once inside the Veterans Building polling place, all he had to do was turn it over to the officials, shake hands with some people who had just finished marking their ballots, and deliver this nonpartisan message.
It's my advice to everyone today that is eligible, please vote.
The president pointed to himself when asked who he'd voted for, but continued to decline to predict the election's outcome. His aides weren't so cautious. Late today, they said it's clear Mr. Reagan has won decisively, perhaps with 60% of the vote, which could account for the president's mood, as reported by aide Michael Deaver.
Oh, I think he's relieved and relaxed and looking forward to this evening.
The president's victory party will be held in Los Angeles in the Century Plaza Hotel ballroom. On hand will be such Reagan movie friends as Roy Rogers, Cesar Romero, and Dorothy Lamour. And there will also be hundreds of the famous Reagan balloons. The president won't go to his party until after midnight East Coast time, because of the candidate's pledge not to make a statement until the polls close here on the West Coast, so as to maintain the fiction that late voters here won't really know that the president has already won. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, Los Angeles.
This is Britt Hume. Walter Mondale today went through one of the last rituals of this long season, the public display of voting that is almost a sacred custom for candidates. His family voted with him, and later the candidate was subjected to a sort of informal exit poll by reporters.
What did you and your family vote for this morning?
Classified. I think I got at least 3 out of 5.
He seemed in the same good spirits he has shown throughout the home stretch of this campaign, sporting a most un-Mondale-like warm-up jacket and chatting casually with reporters about the pros and cons of various kinds of footgear. Still later, back in more typical garb, he paid a call on his mother-in-law, stopping again to chat and making clear that for all his good cheer, he is glad this is over.
The waiting's the toughest part of the running.
No, I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, you're at ease?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, you know, I'm not asking for another week, I'll tell you that. Good luck.
Mondale must go through one last ritual tonight, appearing before supporters to make what is widely expected to be a concession statement. But so widespread have the expectations of a smashing Reagan victory become, and so gamely has Mondale fought back in these last weeks, that even a respectable loss tonight could seem like a triumph. Britt Hume, ABC News, with the Mondale campaign in St. Paul.
Both the vice presidential candidates were out early this morning to cast their ballots. George Bush waited in line for 17 minutes before getting his turn at a precinct in Houston. When asked who he voted for, Mr. Bush told reporters, "I did the right thing." Later in the day, Bush and members of his staff played softball against reporters who have covered his campaign. We project the vice president's team won 23-13. Geraldine Ferraro voted with her family at a public school near her home in the New York City borough of Queens. She told reporters she was optimistic and believed that she and Walter Mondale would prove the pollsters wrong. Later in this broadcast, what is at stake in the Senate and the House of Representatives. Barry Serafin on exit polling. What does it really tell us? And George Will and David Brinkley, their thoughts on today's election.
This is World News Tonight, brought to you by Jell-O Gelatin.
Juice or grape juice. Make it Jell-O Gelatin, create a sensation.
Instead of cold water, add Minute Maid fruit juice to Jell-O. Set and serve. It's a terrific snack.
It's juicy, it's light, and Mom thinks it's dynamite.
Make it Jell-O Gelatin, create a sensation. J-E-L-L-O.
For 1985, Plymouth challenges Escort and the imports with the 550 Plymouth Horizon, 5-passenger room, front-wheel drive, special option package that includes automatic transmission at no extra cost. Match it, Escort. Plymouth backs Horizon with a 550 protection plan. Match it. The 550 Plymouth Horizon. Match it, if you can. Plymouth, best built, best backed American cars.
And now the Senate. Going into this evening, the Republicans control the Senate. They have 55 seats and the Democrats have 45. The polls have now closed in 2 states where there are Senate races. In Kentucky, the incumbent Democrat Walter Huddleston is running a very close race against his Republican challenger Mitch McConnell. Mr. McConnell is presently leading, and if his lead holds up, the Republicans will have gained a seat. But right now, it is too close to call. In New Hampshire, where the polls have closed, the incumbent Republican, Gordon Humphrey, is in a race against the Democratic Congressman Norman DeMoore. And at this moment, that race is too close to call. We will be following all the Senate races throughout the evening, and ABC's Sander Van Oker has a report on some of the key contests.
Of the 33 Senate seats at stake, the closest and most important races are North Carolina. Incumbent Republican Jesse Helms, leader of the party's right wing, has spent nearly $14 million in an effort to beat the challenger, Governor James Hunt, who spent more than $8 million, making this the costliest Senate race, also the dirtiest. Illinois, Senate Foreign Relations Chairman Charles Percy, the Republican, disliked by the party's right wing. He's facing his toughest challenge to date from downstate Congressman Paul Simon. Other states where Democrats think they can pick up Republican seats. Iowa, the polls show incumbent Roger Jepsen running behind Democratic Congressman Tom Harkin. Tennessee, for the Republican seat held by retiring Senate Majority Leader Howard Baker. Democratic Congressman Albert Gore Jr. is expected to beat Republican Victor Ashe. States where Republicans think they have a chance at picking up Democratic seats. Massachusetts, the Democrat, Lieutenant Governor John Kerry, is facing a very stiff battle from millionaire businessman Ray Shammy for the seat being vacated by Democrat Paul Tsongas. West Virginia, for the seat being vacated by Democrat Jennings Randolph. Governor Jay Rockefeller was considered a shoo-in, but late polls have encouraged Republicans to believe businessman John Racy has a good chance of taking this Democratic seat. The outlook from strategists in both parties, continued Republican control of the Senate, at best for the Republicans by the present 55 to 45 margin, at worst with a net loss of 2 seats. Sander Van Oker, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Thank you, Sandy. And now to the House. In 45 of the last 52 years, Democrats have controlled the House of Representatives. Today, Republicans were predicting a pretty significant change. Charles Gibson has this report on what to look for.
In the House, all 435 seats are up for grabs. Well, actually not quite. In fact, ABC can confidently predict 68 winners already. But that's no trick. 54 Democrats and 14 Republicans have no opposition. When it comes to the House, there are too many individual races to remember, so you should look at the numbers, the present makeup of the House. 266 Democrats, 167 Republicans, 2 open seats. Now, Republicans will make gains tonight. The question is how many? They won't win absolute control. That would take a gain of 50. But the number to remember is 25. If Republicans gain that many, they could begin to think about gaining effective control of the House. 25 is about how many seats Republicans lost in 1982. Win back that many, and tomorrow you'll hear House Minority Leader Bob Michel expressing delight. Fewer than that, and Democrats, like Speaker Tip O'Neill, will at least take comfort. States to watch. To make big gains, Republicans need to gain 2 in Connecticut, 3 in North Carolina, a couple in Pennsylvania, 2 in Michigan. They need to win races like Bill Kobe's against Democrat Ike Andrews in Raleigh and Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or Republican Tom Ritter's race against incumbent Bob Carr in Pontiac, Michigan. Better times in the auto industry, Republicans hope, will mean a good vote for Ritter. And Republicans have to hold seats like New York City's, where incumbent Bill Green is trying to fight off a challenge from Democrat Andy Stein, a race where the two candidates are spending about $2 million. But again, the story is the numbers and the critical threshold whether the Republicans can pick up more than 25 seats. Charles Gibson, ABC News at the Capitol.
One of the more obvious features at the end of this campaign has been the president's effort to try to affect as many congressional races as possible. He has had a Republican Senate, but it has been quite a different story, as Charles Gibson has just been telling you in the House. Various polls indicate that Republican gains in the House may be greater than most people expected. ABC's George Will, I should say, now joins us, as he will throughout the evening. George, let's just be purely hypothetical for the moment. If the Republicans do have very significant gains in the House, what are the consequences?
The consequences are, Peter, that tonight we will see two theories killed by some facts. The theories are, first, that parties don't matter anymore in the United States, and the second theory is that the reason parties don't matter is that personalities, not issues, are all that matter in American politics. If the Republicans gain significantly in the House, it will be because people have been voting for the party right down the ticket. And if they do, it may be because a Republican gamble worked. The Republicans have been running this year, indeed since 1978, when they ran the famous ads with the Tip O'Neill look-alike actor in them. They've been running what the professionals call generic ads. These are ads that urge you not to vote for a particular candidate, but to vote for a party. If those ads are working, and in the last weeks of this campaign, the Democratic candidates were very worried about them, then you may see something that the Republicans haven't had in several generations. The Nixon landslide against McGovern of 72, the Eisenhower landslide against Stevenson in 56 did not produce significant Republican gains in Congress. If, indeed, the Republicans can produce that tonight, they will have produced something quite extraordinary for them. And they will have, with disaffected Democrats, something like a conservative legislative majority in the House. If they win all that, they will have lost something. They will have lost an excuse. The Republicans have been running recently against O'Neill, Tip O'Neill, the way the Democrats have run for generations against Herbert Hoover. If they have a conservative legislative majority in the House, they'll have no excuse for not getting their own work done.
George, thank you very much indeed. Look forward to hearing from you later in the evening. We also have an early look at two governors' races where the polls have closed. In New Hampshire, ABC News projects that Republican Governor John Sununu will be re-elected. In Indiana, ABC News projects that the Republican incumbent Robert Orr will win against his Democratic challenger Wayne Townsend. And when we return, some ABC News exit polls. We'll try to explain why we use them and what they give us.
Okay, now you all wear dentures. Tell me what your problems are.
Slipping.
Seeds under my plate.
Denture adhesives. Creams can ooze.
And they can taste terrible. Okay, that's why Johnson & Johnson created Secure Denture Adhesive. Secure is a paper-thin adhesive seal. Moisten your dentures and it covers them like a security blanket. Then dissolves to form a custom-fitted bond between your dentures and your gums.
Well, no problems with slipping.
Or seeds.
No problem. The stuff's terrific. Get Secure and help make denture problems no problem.
70 years ago, Whirlpool started with a product and a promise. A promise to build and sell only good quality, honest appliances designed to give you your money's worth. And a promise to stand behind them. And to make sure we keep our promise, Whirlpool has a toll-free 24-hour telephone service to help you with problems or questions you might have. Over the years, our Whirlpool appliances have become much more sophisticated, but our promise has never changed.
One can grow coffee in many countries, but it is special when it grows in Colombia. For it grows in our high mountains in rich volcanic soil, through warm, sunny days and soft, moist nights. No coffee grows like the 100% Colombian that is handpicked by men such as Juan Valdez. When you see these words on the package, you will enjoy the richest coffee in the world.
During the course of the evening, you will be hearing a great deal about our ABC News exit polls, and we thought this might be a good time to explain how they work and what they are actually designed to tell us. Standing by now is ABC's Barry Serafin. Barry?
Peter, one of the things they're telling us, if it wasn't clear before, is that Ronald Reagan and Walter Mondale have very different appeals to voters. Reagan voters say they see him as a strong leader who will keep this country strong militarily. Those voting for Mondale believe he would be fair to all income groups and would keep us out of war. Now, lots of other information will be coming tonight from exit polling. Those exit polls are one of the tools we use to project winners in the presidential and congressional races, but they are much more than that. Through our surveys today, voters are providing a picture of who they are, what they care about, and why they are voting the way they are. We are questioning voters in 47 states at more than 1,100 polling places.
ABC is doing an exit poll.
After they have cast their ballots, a given number of voters at each of those polling places are asked to fill out a confidential questionnaire. They are asked how they voted, but they are also asked to describe their candidate, what issues and events were important in making up their mind, and about their own concerns, ethnic and educational backgrounds, party affiliation, and so on. The answers from nearly 100,000 voters across the country are fed into our election headquarters here in New York.
We had 33, 13 for Reagan, and 20 for Mondale.
More than 350 volunteers from the League of Women Voters help compile the exit polling information as it comes in.
Mondale 8, Reagan 35.
The information then goes into computers used by our analysts to develop a detailed portrait of voting patterns and concerns on this election day. And one of the patterns to emerge is that voters decided earlier how they were going to cast their ballots this time than they did 4 years ago. Nearly 9 out of 10 voters had already made up their mind before last week. 4% waited until last week to decide. Only 4% made their decision today when they actually went to vote. 3 times that many waited until the last minute in the presidential election 4 years ago. Peter?
Barry, thank you very much. I want to re-emphasize that we do not use exit polls to project the voting results in any states where the polls are not yet closed, and we know that is a matter of particular concern to people in western states. California voters, for example, will be going to the polls for another 4 hours. At this polling station in Santa Monica, about half the 650 registered voters have yet to cast their ballots. Some politicians fear that early results from the presidential race could keep voters away from the polls. And as ABC's Gary Shepard reports, they dwell on what happened 4 years ago.
The people of the United States have made their choice, and of course I accept that decision.
When Jimmy Carter conceded defeat in 1980, it was only 6:50 p.m. in the West. The polls were still open, but one network had already declared Carter the loser an hour and a half earlier.
In this congressional district 4 years ago, the race was virtually decided by the fact that Jimmy Carter went on the air early, and that voters were literally getting out of line and going home rather than voting. We got legislative contests that were decided by fewer than 50 votes.
This year, the presidential candidates say they'll wait for all the polls to close before they say anything. But many West Coast politicians are still worried. By 6 o'clock this evening, California time, the polls will be closed in 39 states, more than enough to allow the networks to project President Reagan the winner if the expected landslide materializes. But most Western voters will still have 2 hours left to cast their ballots. There will be an hour remaining in another 5 states. California Democrat George Brown, trying for a 6th term in the House of Representatives, admits he's in trouble this year and says network projections are likely to depress the turnout of Democrats in his district.
I'm Jerry Patterson, your congressman.
Jerry Patterson, the only House Democrat from heavily Republican Orange County, south of Los Angeles, says he's not sure only Democrats will be affected.
That could work both ways. The Republicans could sit at home saying Reagan's already won, too.
Just the same, many Democratic candidates here in the West say they're planning major get-out-the-vote drives later today in an effort to prevent what happened 4 years ago from happening again. Gary Shepard, ABC News, Los Angeles.
So the message should be clear. You have a lot of time to vote yet. When we return, organized labor. Can its leaders still deliver the votes?
All cars under $7,000 are not created equal. Renault Alliance from Europe's leading car maker has more room than those. Alliance has the longest wheelbase for a smooth ride. Only Alliance has fuel-injected efficiency standard. Weigh your decision, then buy the car whose benefits outweigh the competition. Renault Alliance, built in America 6161. European technology that's affordable. 10.9% financing now available on all models. Renault, the one to watch.
This Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Look, no cord. It's rechargeable. It never needs a cord because this convenient charger stand keeps it continually charged. The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Here's why. The first screen shaves incredibly close. The second screen even closer. The Remington microscreen rechargeable shaver shaves as close as the blade or your money back. And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift, shaves without a cord.
You can't be calculating without a calculating mind.
Now what? I don't know, but they're doing it fast.
Canon's 350 makes 30 copies a minute.
They're doing it in color. The connivers.
Canon's 350 can zoom to precise image sizes and remember them.
They got it in sets already. Already? They're finished. If they're finished, we're finished.
Canon's NP350, the copier with the calculating mind. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
When the burning, itching, and soreness of hemorrhoids flare up, Tux medicated pads give you soothing, cooling relief on contact. Ointments or suppositories work hard, but if you also use Tux, you'll get even more relief. That's why most proctologists often add Tux to treatment programs they recommend. When your hemorrhoids flare up, fight fire with Tux. Tux for more relief than ointments or suppositories alone.
As it has done for elections in the past, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division today sent observers to polling places in 14 counties across 4 southern states. Most of them are in Mississippi. The observers are supposed to ensure that the elections are being conducted fairly and that all qualified voters are permitted to vote. Well, the leaders of organized labor will be watching the results of today's voting very closely. The AFL-CIO put its support behind Walter Mondale very early in the campaign. And as Jerry King reports, the politicians who have looked to labor leaders for support really want to know if the rank and file is listening.
I'm calling from the union office, just calling to remind Timothy to vote today.
The question is not so much whether the unions can get people to the polls, but whether the Democratic Party can regain enough blue-collar votes that went to President Reagan in 1980.
I think we've seen a better effort at reaching our members, more energy, more involvement in this campaign. And I don't think that no matter what happens today, labor is going to be scapegoated for whatever happens.
Labor leaders know the union movement was largely responsible for making Walter Mondale the Democratic standard bearer. And labor is working especially hard today to turn out a Democratic vote because it knows it did not deliver in 2 of the past 3 elections. In Dayton, AFL-CIO people have been knocking on doors. In Kansas City, union members are giving voters without transportation a lift to the polls. But that doesn't necessarily result in a vote for the union's candidate.
People are voting as individuals, you know. It is very difficult to get a person, perhaps, to even vote a straight ticket.
Even though I have a lot of fellow workers that disagree with me, I think Reagan's done a good thing for the country.
We had enough of Reagan. He's like a union buster to most of us out here, you know.
All I look at is the last 3 years of my life have been the best 3 years I've ever had.
You know, I like to switch my vote depending on who's running.
An ABC News pre-election poll last week indicated President Reagan may well end up with an even greater share of union votes than he had 4 years ago. Jerry King, ABC News, Chicago.
For the first time in its 193-year history, the stock market stayed open on a presidential election day. Officials say it is because there are now so many foreign stock traders. There was more money made than lost. Stocks closed sharply higher in active trading, and the Dow Jones Industrials were up nearly 15 points. And now we just want to recap the political story as we know it. Most of the polls have now closed in 3 states, and we have already been able to make some projections. ABC News projects Mr. Reagan is the winner in the state of New Hampshire, the winner in the state of Kentucky, and the winner in the state of Indiana. At this point, the president already has 25 electoral votes. Mr. Mondale doesn't have any. In a moment, David Brinkley, his thoughts on the '84 election.
Is there a coffee made with those incredible tasting beans you find in gourmet coffee stores?
Oh, yes. The costliest, most flavorful coffee beans found in gourmet coffee stores, Arabica beans, are the very same beans used to make Taster's Choice a superior coffee. Only Taster's Choice uses this gourmet blend, Arabica Supreme.
Ah.
The more you know about coffee, the more you'll know why the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
There's nothing different here.
I'd say something's very different here.
That something is Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Fruitful Bran is a feast of raisins, dates, and apples, all from Sun-Maid. It's the taste you've been looking for. Discover Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Discover just how good a fiber cereal can taste.
10 little Indians make a big mess. Rental cleaners, that's one way, I guess, but Regina's found a brand new way to clean carpets with a hot water spray. The Regina Steamer Carpet Cleaner. High traffic areas, keep them clean. It's easy when you own a machine. The Regina Steamer Carpet Cleaner cleans whole rooms so deep, so fast, makes rental cleaners a thing of the past. For less than you ever thought you'd pay, clean your carpets a whole new way. The Regina Steamer Carpet Cleaner.
Well, finally on this broadcast tonight is something of a misnomer, because we are going to, in just a few minutes, go on with ABC's continuous election coverage until we have all of the states reported all across the country and all of the Senate and the House and the governor's races. Joining me, however, this evening, and I hope will stay here throughout the evening, is David Brinkley.
I'll stay here.
David, a final comment this evening or a beginning one for the whole evening?
Well, it's both, Peter. We will be here tonight in the studio reporting the end of the 84 campaign, and then in about an hour and a half or two at the most, we can report the beginning of the 88 campaign. Because politics used to be a sort of cottage industry, with a few people fumbling around with 3x5 cards in shoeboxes. Now they have computers running all the time, counting money, counting names, who's registered, who's not. It's getting to be a 12-month, year-round, unstopping, non-stop industry.
So you're suggesting in 3 or 4 hours from now we're going to start talking about candidates for 88?
Exactly. You could talk about George Bush and Howard Baker and Jack Kemp and Teddy Kennedy and Mario Cuomo and who knows who else. They'll all either be running or talking about it, or we'll be talking about it. You don't want to stay here 4 years for that, though.
Well, no, but I was thinking, based on what you say, that Walter Mondale has been campaigning for 4 years, and I think that one of the things that has struck me at the closing days of the campaign, when the polls have all been running against him, was how up he looked. Now, I know he had to do some of that to invigorate his campaign workers, not to let any doom and gloom penetrate, but he has come to the end of this campaign looking very vigorous.
Well, he's looked okay, and he has certainly kept his spirits up, and he's been good-natured. He hasn't lost his temper. I think we have to admire him for that.
Please, do stay around.
I'll be here.
It has seemed, as you must gather, like an interminable campaign to a lot of people. Our latest pre-election poll showed that the president would be re-elected by 14 points, but all those polls are now history, overtaken by your vote today. Now, the polls are still open in various parts of the country, so many of you still have time to vote. In just another few minutes, the polls will close in another 7 states, and we'll be back with that continuous election coverage in a minute and a half. I hope you'll come back and join us, or at least stay with us. For David Brinkley and all the other people at ABC News, in the meantime, I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening.
From ABC, this has been World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Wednesday.
I saw somebody push Mark Jennings. I saw my mother.
The verdict is in.
We, the jury, find the defendant
on Dynasty. Then on Hotel, Victoria Cabot battles against drugs.
You're hooked on that stuff.
You're fired.
All starting at 9, 8 Central and Mountain.
Here's the crunch you're craving. Nothing'll take its place. 'Cause the good gets better with Golden Flakes. Start digging that golden taste. Munch 'em by the mouthful. Share 'em with your friends. With a crispy taste of Golden Flake, the party never ends. 'Cause when you get down to it, and the truth is told, the good gets better with Golden Flake. It's good, good as gold. The good gets better with Golden Flake. It's good, 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 good as gold.
It's Castner-Knott's biggest sale of the year. Shop early for incredible savings. Stores open 8:30 a.m. tomorrow.
It's Castner-Knott.
Now, when I'm installing this switch, do I connect the red to the red, or the red to the blue, or the red to the yellow?
Ask a salesperson for advice at some places, and you may get the idea they haven't been at it too long. But a Service Star dealer is a professional who owns and